Let's start. Last week, some very positive news from Scotland Yard. They said that they believe there's a reasonable chance of Madeleine still being alive, and they identified nearly 200 leads that were worth following up. What was your reaction to that very positive news?
Well, I guess we've always said the first point you made there. We know there's a real possibility that Madeleine can still be found alive. But I guess for us it was important to hear the police saying that after they've reviewed the evidence, or at least part of the way through the evidence.
I think it's excellent, and it's the most hopeful I think we've been since the early days, to be honest, Martin. And at this point we know there's a tremendous resource and very experienced team reviewing all the information, and a committed team with Detective Chief Inspector Redwood's leading, who really want to find Madeleine and what happened. So if anyone does have information, evidence, this is the time to come forward, and we really are hopeful.
The police optimism was based on what they identified as opportunities in which an abductor could have taken Madeleine. Well, that really wasn't anything new, because you've always said that between your regular checks on the children, there were opportunities. But we were told privately that there's other information that rather corroborates the idea that Madeleine could still be alive. Are you aware of what else there is?
Well, our understanding has always been that there's no evidence to suggest she's come to harm, and that means there's always a realistic possibility. That, and combined with the fact that many other children have been found after very prolonged periods of abduction. And it's probably worth emphasising as well that when the younger a child's taken, often they're being taken to be kept, and Madeleine's in that, a lot younger than a normal child who's taken, for sexual reasons.
I mean, we are aware that new information has come in, and also that new things have been identified within the material that's already there that haven't yet been investigated. I mean, obviously we hear about things in broad terms rather than specifics, to be honest, but obviously it's given us a lot of hope, and I guess I'm not surprised, because having been through the files, I've seen things that I've kind of think, gosh, that needs to be looked at. But it's just good to have, a team on board who are really determined to find it.
And yet, after that optimism, we got that response from the Attorney General's office in Portugal. It's his decision about reopening the investigation, that there was no new facts. He talked about hypotheses and speculation. How did that make you feel?
I think there's twofold facts. I do believe there is new information. There's information that we've seen that's come directly to us, and it's been passed on. So we strongly believe that there is new information. I think how you treat some of the more historical things and identifying links, there may be difference of opinion, but ultimately a lot of the investigative opportunities lie in Portugal, and inevitably to carry those out properly into fulfilment, then the case will have to be reopened. And while Madeleine's missing and the perpetrators are at large, then the case will need to be reopened. I've got no doubt about that.
Do you think it will be reopened?
I think it will in due course.
Yeah. I mean, I think, short of someone coming forward and saying, here she is, our best chance of finding her, and also the person who's committed the crime, is by reopening the case. So, hopefully, given time, assuming that everybody wants to find Madeleine and wants to find the perpetrator, then I am hopeful that the case will be reopened.
I don't think anybody expected the Portuguese authorities within 24 hours to announce the reopening. I mean, how far do you accept that there are complicated diplomatic niceties that have to be overcome?
We weren't expecting an overnight reaction. We've been in this situation for 3.5 years. It took us a long time to get the review. The review is not finished, and let's not forget that. So those investigative opportunities, almost 200, have come from the first 20,000 pages. So we're quite happy for the Metropolitan Police to be liaising with the Portuguese authorities, going through the proper process and presenting the evidence and real opportunities. And I think they'll make a very, very strong case, and it makes a tremendous difference that it's not down to us. We felt we were on our own for a very long time, and it doesn't feel like that anymore. We really feel that the UK authorities and the Metropolitan Police in particular really want to get to the bottom of this.
195 leads could be interpreted as 195 missed opportunities, any parent would feel very angry to learn that after a review of a quarter of the material, there are nearly 200 chances of clues. What do you do with that anger? Because there's no point getting
Martin, we don't feel like that.
Honestly,
we've
got to a point now where we just want to go forward. We can't change it, but whilst it can be done, let's do it. In some ways, it's great that those leads are there because it gives us something to work with, which is why we campaigned, petitioned for 3.5 years to get the review in the first place. We knew if the case was just reopened, people would be standing there going, okay, now what do we do? But at least with having the review and having these actions identified, there's stuff to work on.
Yeah, the mistakes have been well publicised, and we know there was resource issues and just the data capturing and different things. And we also know that a lot of the police early on did try. There was a big investigation, but it's actually better to know that there are still opportunities for us, and we just want those to be performed reasonably, as any family would for a missing child or a serious crime that's been committed. You want to get to the bottom of it and bring those responsible to justice.
When you look at this age-progressed picture of Madeleine at 9, what do you see?
I actually see Madeleine, to be honest, and it's strange because although it's a marker of how many years have passed, as I say, I look at and I can see her in it, and again that gives me hope, because I think, I just want everyone to look at it, take a good long hard look at it and circulate it to as many people as possible, because I do believe it's a good resemblance of what she looks like today, and I think it can be a really useful tool for the investigation.
Forensic has done a great job, really.
Must be a bit difficult to look at a daughter you haven't seen for nearly 5 years. What are your thoughts?
I don't look at it and think that is Madeleine. We know it's a resemblance. I don't think of it as Madeleine. The important thing is challenging the assumption that Madeleine is a 4-year-old who's been, who's frozen in time. She's not. She will have changed, and the public, we also know, are very forgiving in terms of resemblance to images, and particularly children. They look at these pictures in a very different way. So we know from America in particular that these images work a lot of the time.
What are Sean and Emily's reaction to seeing that picture?
It was funny when we were starting the drafts with the artist, and to be honest, it hasn't changed that much from the original draft. Actually, that's how close I think Terry was when she did it. But we showed it to them, and we said, how old do you think this little girl is? And they said, older than us. And I said, okay, so how old? And they said, 8, maybe 9. So actually after that we actually tweaked it to make it look a little bit older. But and they said, is that Madeleine? And I said, this is what we think she might look like now. So they're up to speed with everything, and they understand why we've done it. So.
How are you going to mark tomorrow, the 5th anniversary?
Well, Jerry's in work, to be honest. I've got a mass that I'm going to go to for Madeleine. I'm spending the day with a friend, and then, as we've done the last few years, there'll be a service for Madeleine. There will be in several places, to be honest, and it'll be with family, friends, and supporters, and
I guess one of your abiding thoughts at times like this, well, all the time I suppose, is that somebody knows what happened.
Yeah.
What would you say to whoever it is, and there must be somebody, what would you say to them after 5 years?
It's the same message, it's just not too late, please let us know, tell us where she is, tell us what's happened. If you think you know who's done it, if it's your brother, if it's your son, if it's your colleague, please do the right thing, and it's not too late, it's really not. Just let us know.
You've said in the past that you were very concerned that you were alone in searching for Madeleine. That appears to have changed now.
Very much.
How encouraged are you by that?
It's hard to emphasise how important the difference is between this time last year and what we have now since the review was granted and the Met, and the resource and experience they've brought to bear. And we don't feel like we're on our own anymore, and at times in the past we have felt like it's been battle after battle, and now we really feel that the British authorities are committed, absolutely committed, and it's taken a tremendous burden away from Kate and I and Madeleine's fund and everyone else around us.
And we're really grateful to the Metropolitan Police, and we're also really grateful to the general public, because without their support I don't think we'd have got the review either. So.
And from the review to a re-investigation, how confident are you that that will happen soon?
I don't know when, but I mean, obviously we hope it will happen soon. You know, we want to find Madeleine, we want to find out what's happened, we want to find who's responsible for the crime. And I think the sooner we start looking at these leads and getting an investigation going, the better really. If you don't look, you won't find.
And do you have any idea what those leads are, what the important, perhaps the more important of those leads is?
We know what quite a few of them are, but I wouldn't say by any means we've been through 195. Kate identified many of them herself, as you would expect. But the police are confident that these are actionable, and some of them are high priority. So that's encouraging.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very
Thank
much,
you.
and good luck.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.